Now we know what happens if we multiply sine and cosine by a number. Now what we want to do is see if what happens if we multiply a number by our angle, our theta. So in this case, it would be a horizontal shrink or stretch. So that means that's going to affect our period. So remember, it's usually from 0 to 2 pi. It's going to be really easy. So whatever we're multiplying by the sine or the cosine, so b, we'll call it b for either sine or cosine. We have this interval from 0 to 2 pi. All we're going to do is divide by b, and that's going to give us our start and ending value for our period. So let's do an example. Let's say we have y equals 2 cosine of negative 4x. So I know my amplitude is going to be this 2. So the highest it's going to get is 2. The lowest it's going to get is 2. If I look at my period, remember it's going to be, my period is usually 2 pi, but now I'm going to divide by the negative 4. And if I do that, I get, or I'll just do positive 4. Then I get pi over 2. So I'm going to have a period of 0 to pi over 2. So the highest it's going to get is 2, and it's going to go from 0 to pi over 2. Okay, so I'm going to start at the point 0, and then remember the highest it's going to be if cosine of if x is 0, that cosine is going to be 1, and so that's going to be 2. So I'm going to start at 0, 2, and I know right in the halfway point, I'm going to have to hit 0, then negative 2, then 0, and then positive 2. So what I can do is basically divide from 0 to pi over 2 into fourths. So pi over 2 is my period, and I want to have at least 4 more points. So I'm going to divide that into fourths. So I'm going to count by pi over 8. So I'm going to have 0, and then I'm going to have pi over 8. And then I'm going to have pi over 8 plus pi over 8, which is pi over 4. That's an 8. Then I'll have 3 pi over 8s. And my last one would be pi over 2. So I have my 0, 2. Then if I think about it, if I plug in pi over 8, I'd have 2 cosine of negative pi over 8. But remember, cosine is an even property. So cosine of negative pi over 8 is the same thing as cosine of positive pi over 8, because cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. So I'm sorry, that should be pi over 2, which is 0. And then at pi over 4, it's going to go down to negative 2, then 0, then positive 2. So then I just have to draw, that looks more like a straight line than a curve. But hopefully you understand what's going on. So we have, that's a really bad curve. Okay, so now we know what happens if we multiply it by the 2. It just makes it go higher. Now if we multiply anything on the inside, it's going to have the period change. So then, of course, we can add and subtract something not only to the x, but we can add and subtract something to the d. All right, and so if we have something add and subtract with c, that's going to change our phase shift. So that's going to shift it over, kind of like sine and cosine are shifted from each other by pi over 2. The same thing with this. It's a phase shift. So for b greater than 0, again, we'd have that inside is going to be from 0 to 2 pi. We'd add c to everything. Then we would divide by b. So the left end point is going to be c over b, and the right end point is going to be 2 pi plus c over b. So let's do an example here. We have y equals 3 sine of 2x minus pi over 4. And just to reference, this is y is equal to 3 sine of 2x. So again, what we know is our amplitude would be 3. So the highest it's going to be is 3. The period, since we have something being multiplied by the x, we would divide by that, and our period is going to be pi. So that's why it only goes up to pi. So the highest it's going to be 3, lowest it's going to be is pi. Okay, so then that would mean just what this says. So we have 0, and pi, and then at halfway it's going to be 0 again, and it's going to go up and then down. So that's just the 3 times sine of 2x. However, now we have this minus pi over 4. All right, so let's look at this. So this is going to be a phase shift. Okay, I'm going to add pi over 4 to both sides. To all sides, I should say. All right, so 2 pi plus pi over 4, that's like 8 pi over 4 plus pi over 4. That is 9 pi over 4. Then I'm going to divide by 2. So I have pi over 8 x and 9 pi over 8. So I'm going to start at pi over 8. So if I plug in pi over 8, I get 2 times pi over 8, which is pi over 4. Pi over 4 minus pi over 4 is 0. Sine of 0 is 0. 0 times 3 is 3. So I'm going to start at pi over 8, 0. Then I'm just going to, and I know I'm going to go all the way to pi. So halfway through, I'm going to have to hit that 0 again, which is 5 pi over, 9 pi over 8. Not pi. There we go. That's what was throwing me off. 9 pi over 8. I even said that. 9 pi over 8. And halfway, I'm going to hit 0 again there. The highest it's going to be is 3. And the lowest it's going to be is negative 3. So this is an easy way to do it because we know it's going to have to hit all those points. So we're just going to go kind of like halfway. It's cyclical. So there we go. There is our graph. Perfect. All right, so if we have the plus d, that's going to shift it up or down. So here we go. We have 3 sine of 2x minus pi over 4 plus 2. So let's come out a little bit. So we just had this one. Remember, that's our 3 sine 2x minus pi over 4. Now we're going to do just plus 2. So instead of hitting at pi over 8, going to hit 0, it's going to go up 2. So at 5 pi over 8 is going to be up at 4. No, it was at 3, so it's going to go up to 5. At 5 pi, that was 3 pi over 8. 5 pi over 8 is going to be 2 again. Then at 7 pi over 8, I'm going to shift this up a little bit. There we go. It's going to be, instead of going all the way down to negative 3, it's going up. So that's negative 1. And then at 9 pi over 8, it's back to 2. So that would be what D would do. All right, so we do have some properties, just kind of putting it out together. Let me put this down. Oops. Okay. So for our graphs of sine and cosine, the absolute of A is our amplitude, and that's going to be as high as it gets. Our period is going to be 2 pi over B, and the phase shift is basically just C over B, and then we can go up and down with our vertical shift. So the domain is always negative infinity to positive infinity, and our range is going to be from the negative absolute of A plus D to the positive absolute of A plus D. And that is the graphs of sine and cosine. When we come back, we'll be talking about the graphs of the other trig functions.